Hi everybody, it's Gemma. Welcome back to Pampered Wolf. A couple of days ago I did a video on PR and sponsorship, and I also did a little video on Instagram about flicked winged eyeliner. And during both those videos I had this makeup look on, and I had so many comments, so many comments asking me about the makeup that I got on that day. It looks so lovely. Please do a tutorial on the whole makeup look. Please tell us what your lip shade is. Please do a tutorial on the eye look. So many comments, like seriously so many comments. Thank you so much. It's not my usual look. This is not my usual day look. As you know, I wear a lot less makeup usually than this, but you all asked, so I've got to deliver. This was not the video that I was going to film today. I've got a new product that I want to review for you all, and that will just be moved on to Monday. So many of you asked that I've got to do this video today, so let's get on with it. Okay, so as usual, I have already put my serums, moisturizers on my skin, and I've given those plenty of time to sink in, blah, 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 blah. You've heard it all before. Anyway, I need to get my hair out of the way. Usually I'd put it in a messy bun on the top, but recently I've been having to straighten my hair after I take it out the messy bun because it's gone all kinky. Sorry, lowering the tone. That made me laugh. Anyway, B likes to keep her hand in on my channel by selecting the headbands that I wear. They're all hers, none of them are mine, but it makes her happy. So, do you know, if I can make a 7-year-old happy on a daily basis and this is how she wants me to do it, then no biggie. There we go. Right, straight away we're going to get into foundation. You've all seen me apply this foundation, so I'm just going to speed through this step, but I am going to be using the L'Oreal Infallible 24-Hour Fresh Wear Foundation. Okay, so that's the foundation on my skin. I've really enjoyed wearing this foundation. I think it's lovely. It looks really skin-like, really natural, really fresh. It's a very fresh matte foundation, so it's very natural looking. Your natural oils come through it, so it does look dewier throughout the day. I'm trying a bit of new skincare today, so this has pilled a little bit on my skin. It is not the foundation's fault, it's the new skincare. I just need to play around with it a little bit more to see what works. So we're going to move on to eyes before we do concealer, because just in case there's any fallout underneath the eyes, I can clean that up with a concealer in a little bit. So I'm just going to set the eyeshadow primer using my RCMA No Colour Powder. I have tested out loads of high-end powders over the past year, and I haven't found one that performs so much better and warrants the extra cash than my RCMA No Colour Powder. I find that this powder is amazing for the amount of product and the cost. Okay, so the majority of you didn't really want a full face tutorial. They wanted to know how I did my eyes. This is how I did it. This is the Modern Renaissance palette by Anastasia Beverly Hills. It's one of her oldest palettes that come in this sort of packaging. It's such a beautiful palette. It's one of my oldest palettes from her. The colours in here are absolutely stunning, really easy to blend out. As you can see, mine's been very well used. It's a little bit dog-eared in the corners, but let's crack on. I'm going to go straight into the shade Golden Ochre. This shade didn't really appeal to me when I first opened the palette, but it's a beautiful transition shade and it's really, really natural. So I'm just going to put that in the crease, keep my eye open, and just use circular movements and take that all the way to the inner corner and out. Keep knocking off the excess on the brush. You'll see quite a bit of kickback in the pan. Don't worry about it. You can pick it up when you next go in. No product wastage. And it's quite an expensive palette, as all Anastasia Beverly Hills palettes are, but because this is quite old, this palette, you can often pick it up on a discount and it's well worth buying. So I like to take the transition shade a little bit higher on the outer corner. It just helps lift the outer corner. It just gives the illusion that the eye is a little bit more lifted, and you know, we can all do with a little bit of help. No shame in that. So as you can see, that's just a nice subtle shadow where we want the shadow. It's not too in your face, it's not a bright colour, it's just a beautiful transition shade. I'm going to go into the shade Warm Taupe just to deepen up the outer crease just slightly, and I'm going to go a little bit further in than I usually would. I'm not going to go all the way to the edge of the shadow that we've just applied. I'm going to blend it out so that it's a nice ombre effect. So I'm going to pop that colour further in than the shade that we've just applied, and a tiny bit in the crease, just a tiny bit, just in patting motions. Then I'm just going to blend that inwards a little bit. And it does make a huge difference. So it's as simple as that. These two colours that we've just used, I also used on my mum during the Instagram video that I did yesterday for the L'Oreal 24-Hour Fresh Wear Foundation. It looks so nice on her, but I used them in completely different ways. So she had more of a smoky eye, whereas I'm going to apply a shimmery shade in the middle of the lid to really open the eye up and make it look quite big. So that shade is going to be the Primavera shade, and I'm just going to put that on with my finger a little bit at a time. So I'm just going to pop that in the middle and blend it towards the inner corner. Just go over the overlap a little bit just to blend the warm taupe and the shimmery shade together. So there's a nice blend. Look at that. So I'm going to move on to concealer to tidy this eye look up a little bit. I'm going to be using the L'Oreal Infallible More Than a Concealer. Apply a little bit of that to the back of my hand. I do think this is slightly too pale for me. It's slightly too brightening on the under eyes, but it's the one that I've got, so I'm going to use it today. A lot of people were asking me how my mum felt about this concealer. This is one of those concealers that you have to set in place, or I've found that, and so has my mum. Once it's set in place, it does not move. However, obviously setting it in place makes it look a little bit more matte. And this, I think, is slightly more matte than the Infallible 24-Hour Fresh Wear Foundation anyway. So I think I prefer a slightly more luminous concealer. There is nothing wrong with this concealer whatsoever. It wears well, it wears for a really long time. It doesn't crease, it stays on, it stays put, but I just personal preference, prefer a more luminous concealer. And I think my mum looks fresher and younger also using a more luminous concealer as well. Now, before you set any concealer under your eye in place, I highly recommend you make a funny face. Just make sure nobody else is around, because I do it quite a lot when people are there and they look at me like, call somebody, she's having a moment. Anyway, make a funny face. It really does make a huge difference. Hold the position while you're smoothing out the concealer underneath the eye, and still hold the position while you set it in place. Wait 10 seconds and then relax. It's also really good muscle management around the eye area as well, so you'll thank me later. So here I go, and I'm doing this on camera. I can't believe I'm doing this on camera. Usually I make my mum do this on camera. Anyway. Does make a big difference. Just saying. If you want to post your pictures to my Instagram if you're doing that funny face, it will seriously make my day. Really will. Okay, so going back to the eye look, I'm going to take the e.l.f. No Budge Retractable Liner. This does budge if you put it in the inner waterline, but if you're just using it on the outside of the eye, it really doesn't budge all day. So I'm just going to put a little bit just on the corner. Then I'm going to take a cotton bud or a Q-tip, whatever you like to call them, and I'm just going to blend that in a little bit. This will help the wing liner in a little bit, just blend in nicely with the bottom lash line. So I'm going to go back to the Modern Renaissance palette by Anastasia Beverly Hills. I'm going to go back into Warm Taupe. I'm just going to go over that with the Warm Taupe and bring that all the way along the bottom lash. Then we're going to use Vermeer, which is such a beautiful highlighting shade. If you put this on the center of the lid as well, wow. It's really, really nice, but I'm just going to add a tiny bit of that to the inner corner just to make it pop and open the eye up just a little bit. You can miss out this step if you don't want to do it. Okay, so we're going to move on to winged eyeliner. The liner of choice for me is the Flash Cat Eye by Superliner, and it's L'Oreal Paris. I reviewed this recently and I've also done an Instagram post on how I apply it, but I know a lot of you said, well, we're too old to do that. Wait until you're our age when the skin's a lot saggier and it's really, really difficult to do. There is a knack and I'm going to show you. Okay, so the knack is you need to be as relaxed as possible, look straight forward and relax your eyes. Whatever you do, don't do this. Because if you do this, once you've applied your liner and you eventually do this again, the liner will look like a wiggly line. So you need to apply the liner while your eyes are really relaxed. Otherwise, you're going to have to walk around like that all day. And this sort of surprise look, it's not good, especially not for all day. You'll get forehead wrinkles, believe me. Right, so place this on the eye. So just boring face, and then apply it where you want it and keep that boring face, and then draw directly through the stencil and then remove. And it's at this point that you can now go like this and draw in the lines and make sure that they're crisp, knowing that when you relax it's still going to look absolutely fine. So let's just do that. Now, I don't wear winged eyeliner a lot. For a start, it's not my usual look. I like a lot less makeup on in the daytime, so I don't practice this a lot. So I am no expert, believe me. I make loads of mistakes when doing winged eyeliner, but I also don't like this sort of thing. It's not very good for the skin, so I tend not to do this very often. If you can get away with doing your winged eyeliner without pulling on the skin, that is going to be so much better for you. But my skin sort of crinkles around this area, so there's no way I can get away with it. You can even, if you want a bigger flick, use the other side to get a straight edge if you're struggling to draw a straight line, and just use that as a stencil, a bit of a ruler if you will, and draw the line on that way if you want a larger line. Now the trick is I generally go in horizontally as soon as I've drawn that flick. I go in horizontally to where my eye naturally will crease throughout the day. And as soon as I've hit that point, which is there for me, right there, I'll then start to swoop it in. And then fill that in. And that's what you're left with. Then you can do the rest of your liner and then connect it after you've done the rest of your liner. So as you can see, I like my winged eyeliner to have a little bit of a swoop to it. So I like it to go up on my eye. I like it to come down and then I like it to swoop out a little bit. There are so many ways of doing a winged eyeliner, but I find this is the easiest way if you've got a slightly hooded eye, deep set eyes, a few wrinkles on the outer corner of your eye. I just find this is the easiest way. And the key tip that I can give everybody is make sure that your eye is completely relaxed when you are drawing in that first line and connecting it to your eyelid. Your eye must be completely relaxed, because if you're like this, it will not look nice when you eventually relax. That is the main tip of the day for winged eyeliner. So moving on to mascara, the one that I always use if I have a choice is the Charlotte Tilbury Legendary Lashes Volume 2 mascara. I just absolutely love this mascara. So I'm going to move on to my brows, and I'm going to use the Urban Decay Brow Blade, which I've used every single day since I've got it. It's an absolutely amazing product, but I'm also going to team that with my Micro Brow Pencil from NYX. Now the reason I'm using this is not because the actual pencil part of the brow blade is no good, because it's really, really good. I'm just not keen on the shade that I bought. I think it's slightly too orangey and got a little bit of a yellow tinge as well to it, and it just doesn't match my natural eyebrow hairs. So I'm using that because of that. I think in hindsight, I should have gone for the cool brown shade, which is an error on my part, not the product's part, because the product itself is amazing. Like I said, I've used it every single day. So once I've filled in my brows a little bit using the Micro Brow Pencil from NYX, which I would usually be using the waterproof pencil part of the brow blade if I like the colour. And I'm just going to go back into the brow blade and use the ink stain end just to fill out the front of my brows a little bit. This is so simple to do. It looks really quite natural unless you get really up close, and then obviously you can see that the hairs have been drawn on. This is definitely the best product for drawing on really small hairs that I've used in such a long time, and like I said before, I reach for this on a daily basis, so it's a great product. Anyway, we're going to go into the Charlotte Tilbury Pretty Glowing Skin Palette. This is such a lovely, lovely palette. I got this for my Full Face of Charlotte Tilbury review, and it's something that I use a lot. So I'm just going to go into the shade here, which is more or less the contour shade, and just pad a little bit there, not too much, just in that outer part underneath the cheekbone, and just blend that in. Over the top of that, I'm just going to use my Body Shop bronzer, which is in the shade 03, which is medium. I think it's 03. Yes, it is. And I'm just going to go round my forehead just to give that a little bit of colour, and also make my forehead look a little bit smaller. Then I'm just going to nip back into the Charlotte Tilbury Pretty Glowing Skin Palette and the top corally shade there. Just going to dab in there a couple of times. This is super pigmented, so you hardly need any on your brush whatsoever. Just going to dab a tiny bit of that onto the apples as well. Then I'm going to take a bit of the pinky highlighter just on my fingertip. These are so subtle, these highlighters. I think a lot of people have been disappointed by the sparkliness of them and the fact that they are so subtle. These are probably the most subtle highlighters that I've ever used. I just like that little subtle highlight on the top of the cheekbone. It's just a bit more natural, but like I said, if you really like a poppy highlighter, then these are definitely not going to be for you. I'm going to apply it a little bit on the Cupid's bow as well. Now I forgot that the other day, the In the Eye look, I also put a little bit of the reddy shade, which is Relgar. Anyway, it's this shade down here, and I popped a little bit of that on the waterline as well, so I will do that. Just, you know, you gotta get it right. Get it right. I had a red top on during that video as well, so I just wanted to bring the red in a little bit, and it's not too red. I mean, it doesn't make you look like you've been crying, it doesn't make your eyes look sore in any way. It's just a really nice warm orangey red. Okay, so moving on and finally finishing off this look, I had so many comments that basically said, oh my goodness, what is that lip shade? I need to go out and buy it immediately. Well, it was from Smashbox, Always On Liquid Lip, which is my favourite liquid lip. I do find it a little bit drying. You do need to put a bit of a lip topper on, but the shades are just glorious, absolutely beautiful. The applicator is so easy to use. This is in the shade Stepping Out. Such a nice shade. I also had so many of you commenting about how nice my lips were looking and how big they were looking. The largeness of my lips are all down to the liquid lip. This applicator is so easy to use. It allows you to overline your lips by less than a millimeter, and they look far bigger and far more juicy, which is why I prefer a liquid lip over a bullet lipstick. So just as a quick lip topper, I'm going to be using the L'Oreal Infallible Lip Gloss. This is in the shade 103, which is Protest Queen. And I'm just going to apply that to the center. And there we have it. That is the finished look for today. I really hope you've enjoyed this tutorial. I hope you found it helpful. I hope you found the little tips that I shared for doing your winged eyeliner, even though I am no expert. I hope you find those helpful as well. Don't forget to follow me on Instagram if you're not already. It's @PamperedWolf, all lowercase, no spaces. And if you haven't subscribed to my channel already, there is a watermark in this corner. If you click on it, it will take you through to my homepage where you can subscribe. Hope to see you all again. Bye.